All right, so what that means, if we're putting in a matrix into our calculator, so let's give an example of something like 3, 1, -2, and 0, and we want to put that into our calculator. We open up our calculator, and you open up, and it's in a calculator page. And so all we do, instructions are, menu 7 is matrix, create, and then matrix. Okay, so menu 7, so matrix and vector, create, matrix. And then it tells you which ones you can do. So we want to do a 2 by 2, and so we press OK, and then we put our numbers in. Okay, the other way is probably easier. Okay, so that's like anytime you ever get stuck on your TI, I want you to use the menu button, try and find out what you want to do. So I always want that to be like your first port of call. If I'm stuck, where do I go? Menu, oh, matrix, this is a matrix. Oh, I need to create something. So you can go that way. However, once you've got some shortcuts, it's probably a lot easier. So I want you to go to that favourite button I told you about, which is, like the fraction one down here. It's right there. Oh, that didn't work. Well, maybe it did. Can you remember the button, that one? For some reason it won't let me put it over the other side. That's right. So this button here, next to the 9. You guys see it? Yeah? So if you press that button, it comes up with a whole heap of options. Can people see where the matrices are? Yeah? So let me just... So if you press that button, which is way easier than pressing menu 7, rah, rah, rah. Okay, for some reason I can't move that. That's right. Okay, as we've got this, what do you think all these things are? Which buttons are we looking at? We're looking at these 4 here. Okay, so if you've got a 2 by 2 square matrix, then you're going to use that button there. If you just want a row, use that one. If you just want a column, use that one. Or if you want to create any, use that one. So for example, if I want a square one there, I just click on that button and hopefully it will work. Let me just get out of here for a second. Your computer's frozen. Can you guys just try and do that yourselves? So just try out all 3 buttons and putting numbers in. Try pressing them a couple of times as well, see if you can get different things. Here's my calculator has broken. Now, in your investigation this week and next week, you're going to have to use your calculator extensively. So you need to know how to use it. Otherwise, you're not actually going to be able to do it. All right, there is a next step though. So what do we have to do? Once you've got the template, you have to put the numbers in. Yeah, so make sure you're able to write those numbers in. Then you then need to save it. You know how we give our, Sam, you right? You know how we give our matrix a letter as a name? We actually want to be able to save it as that. So then if we want to do a whole heap of different things with A, and we want to square A, or we want to times A by 3, or we want to do different, like A plus B, whatever, we want to give it that name so that we don't have to keep doing the menu 711, write it in, that sort of thing. We just want to keep using the same thing. So to do that, just give me a second. So to do that, if I then put in what we just said before, so I'm going to put in a square matrix. And we're going to put in the numbers which we had, so 3, 1, negative 2, 0. Can you guys make sure you've got this in your calculator too? So 3, 1, negative 2, 0. We just want to make sure we get all the same things. 3, 1, negative 2, 0. So we've got the matrix to put in. I haven't pressed enter yet because what I'm wanting to do is I want to store this. I want to actually go, this is going to be called A. And for when we actually manipulate it and change it, we're just going to have to use the word A. So does anyone know how we store a variable, how we actually store something as a variable? It's not. What we actually do, that's a good try though. What we actually do is we go to store it as a polynomial, we go control var, and it brings this little arrow up, and then you give it a label. So where I'm saying where that is you can actually see, you can see above where it says var, above where it says var, see how it says STO and an arrow? That's saying store. I want to store it as a variable. But because it's above the variable, we're actually going control variable. And what should happen is it brings up a little arrow, which tells your calculator what to do. Now, what you need to remember is forever, while you have this calculator page up, A is going to be that. Okay, so if you want to make a new, like renew it, you're going to actually need to be aware of that. So you're going to need to store things as different letters, or you need to open new calculator pages as we go. So can everyone just try and store this as A? So control var. See how there's a little arrow there? And then capital A, or just A, it doesn't particularly matter, but we just need to remember that it should be a capital A for a matrix, and then press enter. Okay, and so all that's done, it will then bring it up, and it's just saying this is what you've stored. Is everyone okay to there? Okay, so to store it as a pronumeral, control var, and then you can use it in a calculator. So I'll show you what I mean. Could you try and find out what 3A is without actually having to write the matrix into your calculator? And then can you try A squared for me? Which is much easier than doing that, all that multiplication and adding up and things in between. Okay, so all you need to do is once you've stored it, is go 3A. And it's multiplied it all by 3. Okay? A squared, you could either write A times A, or you could write A squared, and it tells you what the answer is. So as I said, it's really easy in your calculator, but make sure you do use the storage. Lots of people just keep writing the matrix out, and in a test, you know how we've done practice questions up the top where I've written A equals B equals C equals D equals, but then there's like 6 different questions using them all? If you actually go in and start, just write the matrix, store it as A, write the matrix, store it as B, write the matrix, store it as C, and then all you have to do is write A times C, A plus B, and it's not too hard, okay? Yes?
Is that like, do you have to write that, like store out to the page every time, or is that like save out?
It'll save now as A, so you need to unless you save that sort of document side of things, it'll be A until you open a new one. So yeah, it'll still be there until you get rid of the page. So you just need to be aware of that because A might be in one test question, then it might be a different matrix in the next one. So you need to make sure you sort of store it as you go. It'll tell you though, so it's just about practicing. Now, what's going to happen just using a calculator if I said I wanted to add, what's the problem with this question? If I say A plus, and then I'm going to just put in a row column. Sorry, my calculator's not liking this today. And I'm going to say 3, 4. Oh, let's try that again. What's the problem with this question if I'm putting in a row column, a row matrix? It's not the same. So can you guys try and do this since I appear to not be able to? Can you guys do this and see what happens? Because we know that it's not going to work, yeah? So I was going to say dimensions mismatch. So that means that we can't answer it. So if you see something like that, you need to know that either adding up, they're not the same dimensions, okay? Multiplying, the columns of the first don't equal the rows of the second, okay? And it will tell you that. So your calculator knows when you can't find an answer to. But always double check that you've actually put the right information in. Because, and one of the tips I've written down the notes for worded questions is, usually, especially if it's a worded question which has quite a lot of steps and which go through to a thing, we usually don't end it with, you can't answer that. It's usually got an answer. Sometimes within it, there might be one which says we can't answer that, like within it, but if it's worth quite a few marks, I want you to always double check that you've actually put things right into your calculator and that sort of thing before you answer with NA. In the non-calculated section, there's always going to be one usually which you can't answer, and that's okay. But in a worded one, we're not usually going to waste your time to not be able to find something. Usually, I can't guarantee it. All right, how are people feeling about using their calculators for that? All okay? All right, so let's just quickly just write a few notes about worded matrices, and then we'll do some practice together. So worded matrices, use a highlighter. Sorry, I wrote those notes on a Friday afternoon. Use a highlighter. It's really important. Take note of keywords. There's a reason why I taught you those words: column matrix, row matrix, square matrix. Because if you see the word, you need to know I have to draw one of these and not one of the others. Highlight the question as you read it. Try to make sense of the context. This is the same as with the algebra stuff. So is it about working out money? Is it about working out people? Is it about working out pathways? Once you've got your answer, does your answer actually reflect that? And this is where having an understanding of what a matrix actually is showing you is really important. So this is where what we need to get today is actually understanding why we do these things. Just double check if you think you are unable to answer. So that's what I just said to you a second ago. So it's less likely in a worded question. And if you make a mistake, follow it through. You'll get follow-through marks. The number of tests I've put in where I've had to go in for every single person and put in a different matrix in my calculator to give you follow-through marks. I hate it, but we do it, okay? So don't just give up. Draw a matrix, write it, and follow it through your answer. And in a second, we'll do some of these questions together. Sorry, this will be up in a second. I'm just going to end this.